Hello everybody, my name is Logan Girard, and I am happy to announce that I have added a new mechanic from one of my fellow students, Alex Barnes, and I'll be showing and going over with you what that mechanic is. But first, before I show that, just a reminder of what my mechanic originally was. Originally, it was a memory type of mechanic where tile pits would fall into place for after a few seconds, and the player would have to memorize where to go. And if they, for example, fall off, tiles will fall with them and they'll have to reset all over again. Very simple mechanic, very difficult though, not to implement but just to play overall since you have to basically memorize a path. But once you get it down, you should be fine. But no, the new mechanic that I have added was essentially, you can see it up there, the top corner up there. You see the two people? That's the new mechanic. It is a wall type entity. And with these glowing pressure pads for this example, this one right here, and the one to the right, if I would step on this glowing pressure pad, it will move them. However, if I get off of it, they'll move back. And if I go up to these pressure pads, if I can remember the path, I can go up to those, not pressure pads, if I go up to those wall entity, the wall entities, if I can remember, oh my god, I fell in the same place. All right. Let me just try memorizing path. Okay, sorry. It is asking sometimes a lot to memorize the path. Okay, it's just another right. All right, see? I cannot get past them because they are technically a wall type entity. But if I, for example, were to push a box in the way, it'll move them out the way. And since the box is constantly on it, they'll be constantly moved out the way as well. And then I just have to remember where to go. Perfect. Okay. And with that mechanic, you can make some crazy stuff, as for example this. Not only do you have to memorize the path, you also have to memorize where things go, and it can become a lot. And let me just show you a fact. And I already forgot. Okay, let me sit down. Okay. All right. That's the path. Okay, so okay. Push this one. Okay, moves them out the way. I see. So, alright, I made this and I'm already. Okay, so let's just push this. It's a bit fearful. Okay. Okay. This one then moves. Okay, sweet. So that's a teleporter that the level came with, the level project came with, and I implemented it. So now it teleported the box next to the thing, next to the pressure pad. So now I just have to go back. Oh no. Okay, let me try this one more time. God, I'm actually really focused right now because this is very difficult. Okay, push it back. There we go. Push this one. Even though, okay, I'm like legit stressful about what's, okay, it's down, this way, push it, sweet. And then, as you can see, the puzzles can be kind of difficult, and I hate myself. Okay, I made that part, and okay, whatever. You get the point. However, let me go into and explain how that code works. So the code's actually kind of interesting. It's not as simple as the code that I made, the following pathway codes. So the whole coloring of the codes, for example, are in the sounds that they make as well. Same exact thing. Event move the tile is actually kind of different. Event move the tile, pair move the tile, multi-gated, plays the sound when entity moves on it, and then those connect to another multi-gate, and those will switch to static mesh when the entity moves to another tile, / that one that you move, the one that moves, not the one that stands put. So let's go into that real fast. So on event begin play, we set up a branch with a custom node that is an instance edible, that is I am a spawner, or am I spawner. We put that as the condition, and we set that, and we set the true, we set that new entity type to the entity wall, or this dude. Then, go back to that real fast, we then update that tile. But the target is these two things. The current tile variable type, and the direction variable type. We connect those to the get neighbor, so the thing next to it. We connect that to the target and the target of the update tile. So originally this code only had the activate, and in the activate, We get the current tile's entity starting direction, so current tile, then direction. So current tile as a target and the direction as direction. Plug that into the current entity, and then plug that into the move tile. And then over here, it's just more like setting up static mesh for when it moves. And then we update entity with the current tile to new direction. So current tile, move to location. Same exact thing, but different. And if that's a bit hard to follow, let me go over what that means real fast. So if I click on this type of entity, as you can see right here, we see the ami spawner, which we have set to true. If we did not have that set to true, it would not spawn that additional moving entity. But as we can see right here, since we set that to true, we can set the direction of the moving entity. The direction basically tells us where it will spawn next to this entity. So for example, the only place they can spawn to is the right of it. And then we tell it to where we want it to move, so down. So go over there first, so right here. So as you can see, since we have it as a spawner, the entity direction that it will spawn is now to, as we set, to the right of it. We go to the tile pad, you press it, it now goes down. However, the thing that I implemented and added was the deactivate, which essentially is the opposite of the activate. It's literally almost the same exact code, but I reversed it. So I added two new custom instant variable editables type variables right here. As you can see, we have original direction and now move back. It's basically the same exact thing as activate, but we are now reversing the direction. So for example, originally how this code would work is you have this entity right here, the one that can stand still. Once you step on the pressure pad, like this one right here, it will just permanently move to that new location and just stay put. However, I saw a vision with that. I liked the idea, but I really wanted it to move back, so have more of a puzzle type of feel to it. So with me implementing this new code, the original direction and the move back, we are now able to go and add two new directions, as you can see. And this code allows you to not only move it back and forth, but it also can allow you to move it to separate directions. For example, if I were to set this to left, it would also, instead of moving backwards, I'll show you. Give it a few seconds, apologies, and then click. It'll go down, we'll get off of it, go left. But for it to, not to give errors, since that would cause problems, we will just set it normally to the opposite. So right, down, down, right. And then we cast that to the tile 4 number 1 or the pressure pad right here. We'll cast that to the pressure pad of the entity wall, and then we'll have that target the activate, with the target being the entity wall and the entity to activate. As you can see right here, we have an instant editable. That instance editable allows us to basically pick which entity wall we want. As you can see, this right here is on entity wall 2. Is selected, and now entity wall 2 will interact with that pressure pad. Same thing for the whole deactivate as well. As you can see, on event enter, we have it activated. So the second we step on that pressure pad, it will move to its new location. And when we exit on event exit, which is all this code right here, it will leave and go to the new direction that we have saved in it. Now, like I said, this code was actually pretty fascinating. It was a bit difficult for me to pick up immediately, but once I figured it out, I was able to implement the idea that I wanted. And it was actually pretty simple and interesting. As you can see right here, we'll get the whole get neighbor, current tile, and direction. We'll plug that into the target of the new entity type and the update tile type. All you have to do, instead of just plugging it into the new entity type with it, because it will cause problems and an infinite error glitch, all you have to do is just get the neighbor of that, get the current tile, and instead of the direction, you get the original direction, the one you created, and plug that back into update tile. Like I said, if you plug it into new entity type with the get neighbor type, it will do an infinite loop, which is pretty bad. And all of the other extra features that I included are, as you can see, set static mesh, play 2D sound. So when the player steps on the pressure pad, it will have the entities when they move. It will play like a little record scratch noise. And same thing for this. As you can see, this one's a bit different compared to the others. Usually, when an entity or a player enters a plate or a tile, it will just change the color once. But when they get on the tile again, it'll change it again. This, though, allows me to customize that a bit more. For example, event tick, so every single time a tick happens, we delay it by 1 second. So every single second. We then cast it to a multi-gate, and then we change the materials to the new materials with the new lights. So it gives that nice little strobe effect. And as you can tell, I added some sounds as well. Not too difficult to do. If you're curious about that, just go to, where is it? I need to find it real fast. Entity, it'll be Entity Player. Blueprints, Entities, Entity Player. And as you can see, we have all this. We have play 2D sounds when the player moves. So dun, dun, dun. And then we have play 2D sound of the disco loop on event begin play. And all the same things I have that I wore last time. And this mechanic, the entity moving wall, was made by Alex Barnes, and I loved it a lot. The reason I picked it was mainly because I saw the vision for it. I was trying to find a mechanic that would fit the same vibe as a disco feeling. And while everyone else's mechanics were pretty neat and cool, I couldn't really see it being used in like a remembrance disco type of game. But this wall, I could, because I had the idea that if they move back and forth, it gives them like the idea that they're dancing, and they're dancing in the way, and then you move them out of the way. So, other than that, though, that is my mechanic, and the mechanic of Alex Barnes that I've implemented in the game. I hope that it was to your satisfactory. I enjoyed it a lot, and it was fun to mess around and create that going back and forth. Like I said, the original idea of it was when you stepped on the pressure pad, the entity would just move to its new current position permanently. But with this new implementation, it goes back and forth. But other than that, that's all I have for you today. So thank you very much.